What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Adam, here with Coach Tara and Coach Damon today. We're going to be talking about the big three of muscle contractions, that's being eccentric, concentric, and isometric contractions. But before we get into that, as always, our member of the week for this week is Jacqueline Arcuri. So Jacqueline is a relatively new member, but I think has made a lot of quick progress. You guys can speak a little more to her. You see her a lot more. She's all day, both morning and afternoon, but you see her more in the mornings.
Yeah. I mean, she makes it happen. I mean, some days it's 5 a.m., some days 9 a.m., 10 a.m. It doesn't matter. She gets it in no matter what. And just the consistency aspect is awesome, and just having the ability to always want to learn has been awesome to train her, and just been a great experience just to see her grow.
Yeah. And I think, potential level 3 member for us, which for us at Legacy includes some additional power work in your workouts. So could possibly see her getting into that one day, and she has a great work ethic for it. So nice job, Jacqueline. Keep it rolling. So getting into this here, the topic for today, the muscle contractions. So really bringing this up, we are currently in a strength phase and running into some questions because obviously, we're pushing weight and load and things like that during the strength phase. And with some members, there are limitations that aren't necessarily purely the strength aspect. A lot of times it is grip position, just holding the weight. But, if the lower body is doing the work, the grip strength has to keep pace. So having to make adjustments either in timing or load position and things like that. So I think understanding the 3 different types of muscle contractions and having people be able to apply that to their workouts where they feel like they can is going to be a good skill to possibly put into the workout. So we're just going to talk about what these are, why they matter, kind of where and when you will see them, and then how you can apply it to your workouts. So biggest point with muscle contractions is muscles either shorten, lengthen, or maintain their length to produce a certain amount of force, right? So we can always think of a bicep curl as a perfect example of an exercise where you can basically segment that rep, like a single rep of a bicep curl, and break it down into the 3 different muscle contractions that are happening. So take your bicep curl, 2 dumbbells in your hands. The curling up part of the repetition is a concentric contraction where the bicep is shortening. Then we have the lowering phase, which is when they're coming back down to the starting position. As long as it's in control, and we'll get more into that, the lowering phase is the eccentric portion of the rep. And then if you were to, say, pause halfway up the curl and hold that position, that would be your isometric contraction. So those are kind of visual right there if you're trying to put, an image to what we're talking about. So what we're looking for as far as the benefits is obviously we're trying to build strength, but building muscle and then improving power and explosiveness. Each kind of contraction has a different focus, and we're going to break it down kind of one by one. So I think the common mistake that we see and try to remind people of a lot of times is controlling the weight, right? Controlling the movement, where the force is being produced, as opposed to throwing weights around as kind of like false work, I guess, for lack of a better term. So we're going to start off with eccentric contractions, which I think probably takes the most control. One of you guys want to take away, at least start us off here on the eccentric muscle contractions?
Yeah, so basically the eccentric contraction is when the muscle is lengthening through the movement. So like he was saying with the curl, it's on the way down for the bicep, which is the muscle that we're targeting. Another example could be a back squat. As you are lowering down, you are stretching your quad in the bottom position, which is getting that lengthening, really stretching those muscle fibers, getting those little micro tears, which is what we want to be able to grow more muscle. So it's being able to, that is probably the most important to control, in my opinion, because without the control of the eccentric, it's just kind of
useless if you're
kind of what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if you're not controlling it, it better be a power movement, because even then you're still using eccentric muscles, but at a faster pace in those movements. But if you don't have the eccentric, that you're basically either going to drop the weights, or it's just not going to go as
hurt yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably where you see the most injuries. Once you lose the control that you're talking about, and a lot of times it is like a lowering or a descending part of a movement. So gravity's gonna always win. So we live on Earth. So being able to control is key for the eccentric.
Yeah, and just like one little thing to add on top of that too, for all the people that care about their core and making sure that their core is strong, when you are controlling an eccentric movement, your core is going to be working extremely hard to be able to isometrically maintain that stability throughout the movement. So for all you core lovers out there, it's going to be very essential if you can focus on the eccentric as well.
Squat and deadlift heavy, basically, and control the eccentric movement of both of those, and that's better than the thousands of sit-ups that you're probably doing at home. So, yeah, it's also where people usually feel the most soreness, right? Because the lengthening it's requiring, it's a lot of mechanical tension on your muscle, and I think benefits to eccentric, we see it a lot in, it's going to it's going to promote muscle growth, strength gains, obviously, injury resilience, because that's just playing into the whole control part of this, and then tendon health also, which is super important because you need your tendons. So for movement, and there's honestly not really a better way to, I think, test tendon strength other than controlling an external load. So if you don't give them the opportunity to do that, and you have some kind of unexpected movement at any given tendon or something like that, that's where you run into like your injuries, things like that. So it actually requires more stimulus and more muscle fiber recruitment to perform an eccentric contraction than a concentric. That's why, like, typically, concentric things are quick and the shortening. So it's actually you're stronger eccentrically. So when you're trying to promote muscle growth and hypertrophy, it's super key to not just, breeze over. Yeah, and crush things super fast. Exactly. Okay, so the way to achieve that is going to be like slow tempo stuff, right? Obviously, when you're controlling something, we take like an RDL or a squat, for example, like a 3-second control to a 1-second kind of fast contraction. Getting your tempo down is super important, and this is a way that people can make exercises, quote unquote, more challenging if load seems to be like the limiting factor, right? If you can't break 135 on a bench press, then stay at 135 but start to play with the tempo, and more muscle recruitment will eventually lead to more strength there, and you'll be able to increase your weight in time. Okay, let's move to isometric. You want to take it, Tara?
They're the worst of all contractions. No, but seriously.
Possibly. Yep.
So as he said earlier, the isometric is when force is being produced, but there is no movement. So think of standing there and pushing against the wall. You're doing a lot of work, but again, there's no movement. Everyone's favorite wall sits.
Wall sit.
The planks. Those are requiring muscle recruitment to hold position without, again, moving your body. I find those to be very take that back, very helpful and useful when people are experiencing some type of injury, or I wouldn't even say injury, but something feels a little off, or I stepped the wrong way this way, and you can get into that isometric hold and hold the position, get the work done without the movement that you feel the pain with. the isometrics also help with stability. Can you hold the position? A lot that we see with our shoulder program, we're looking at that. We have one of the exercises where we a bottoms up 90-degree hold, holding here, eventually taking that arm straight up. Can you hold the position? That, again, we're not doing too much movement on that shoulder if there's injury, just lack of range of motion, all those things, but it does allow you to get some of that, to get the muscle recruitment to build the strength in that shoulder without having to move it, causing more pain, causing more anything at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, like we touched on a little bit earlier, it's like you can either go and do a set of isometric something, or it's just a part of like a rep, right? So like the squats, it would be like a pause at the bottom, an intentional like 2-3 second pause at the bottom. It's just adding that aspect to the rep. We like to do a lot of carries here. So like farmer carries, it's, yes, you are walking, but the core is holding that like isometric contraction without a whole lot of movement in the core. It's still working to stabilize you.
Or
right?
It shouldn't be.
Or yeah, that is farmer carries is one that I think we can all agree on. We're gonna kind of lock in on people to try to improve what those look like. Easy to fall apart on those, let's just say. So those are your isometrics. Concentric is gonna be the third one. This is, your muscle is shortening, so it's shortening to produce force. This is what you can think of as like quote unquote the hard part of the exercise, because it's where you're moving the external load like with pace, the standing up portion of a squat, the press away from you on a bench press. Obviously the benefits are going to be to build strength and build muscle, but this is also where power and explosiveness can come into play, because you aren't really power and explosive on eccentric. That's control. And then isos, you're usually not moving. And it's really functional for like daily movements, right? So things that, you have to go and perform a task, you have to go, climb up 10 stairs, concentric contractions every step that you're taking, right, in the quad. This is usually the part that people focus on, or like they quote unquote feel the exercise working. But again, we want to use the C word, control. So we want to, I think, what were we doing yesterday? Like we were doing high-low cable chops yesterday. So perfect example of one where you can have like all three movements. It's hard to differentiate which contraction is happening when, because it all kind of feels the same. But when you're chopping down, that's your concentric. You can hold, pause at the bottom, there's your isometric, and then controlling the cable back to its return start position, that's your eccentric. So I guess it helps, like we joke around sometimes, like you're not just like physically working out, like there's like a brain workout going on too. You should be moving with intent, like with purpose, and understanding where and when you can make things, more difficult just by playing with timing or controlling things one way or the other. So concentric is usually rushed through, and sometimes momentum is relied upon to pull off those kinds of movements. But we always just want to keep in mind that control is how we're going to be able to tap into all three types of contractions. So just to kind of summarize or shorten it up, I guess, concentric contractions, you're going to produce force and produce movement. Eccentric, you're trying to control your force and build like that tendon and joint resilience. And then the isometric is a lot for stability and maintaining certain positions or postures. The programming stuff is, so again, we build a program for you. You come in, execute the workout, but the programming is super important to make sure that we're almost evenly distributing. Obviously, concentrics and eccentrics are going to happen a little bit more, But making sure that we are touching on all of them in a given workout is super important. Let's see. Let's give an example here. Let's choose an eccentric, if you guys can think off the top of your head. Let's go a concentric, an eccentric, and an iso that you feel like are easily like made mistakes, or like a common mistake. Maybe any specific exercises that we could kind of just broadly address here.
At least eccentrically, a common mistake is seeing people go too fast on an RDL.
Okay.
Some people really try to rush through it when in reality we care more about, or at least I care more about, feeling that stretch, really taking your time to feel the hamstring stretching out. And like you said, it's like that 1, 2, 3 count in your head. 1, 2, feeling the stretch, and then fast up. That part is fine going fast, but you should not be going fast down, because like we said, you're more likely to hurt your back and something like that.
Tweaks.
So that's an example I got for eccentric.
Okay. So RDLs, big one to tune in for, or lock in on, at least eccentrically. Tara?
I'll have to go bicep curl for the concentric.
Okay.
I would say like concentric / isometric on this one, because people don't engage and activate that core. So we're rocking back and forth, trying to get the weights up.
Yep.
1, the weight's too heavy at that point.
Right.
And 2, we're no longer, like you said earlier, you're trying to use that momentum to bring that weight back up. Like you're not isolating the bicep, which is what the exercise is for. So I would say concentric / isometric on those two, on that particular movement.
I think bicep curl is, definitely with the men, sometimes with the women, but I try to explain, it's like we give it to you usually for 3 sets of 12, sometimes 3 sets of 15. You should be choosing a weight where you feel like there's no swing and you can get to whatever the rep number that is given to you is. Those two things take priority over the load.
Yes.
Right? Like if you're going over trying to like curl like a 60-pound straight bar and you're just swinging, I would rather you cut that in half and move nothing but your biceps, right? And get through the 12. So I think that's a good example for control for sure. I think with the isos, give me a Pallof timed iso. Cable Pallof specifically.
Spread them feet.
That I think, it's not a difficult exercise because it's not moving, obviously, but you have such a checklist of things that you kind of need to make sure are all in line. And like I say, G'd up from the feet up. Start from the ground. Your base should not be any wider than your hips, right? We see a lot of people stand super wide to try to establish stability, but they're using their lower body for stability and not the core, which is what we're trying to address. Hip compensations is like kind of the next thing up the line. If we're going from the ground up, you'll see weight shift, right? Weight shifting like away from the weight stack, trying to basically put your body weight into holding the cable. Yeah. So we want to make sure that hips are as symmetrical as possible, and that kind of comes hand in hand with like weight distribution, right? We want to feel like you're 50-50 in your two legs as far as weight. And then I think probably we want to make sure that the arms stay low. Like you should be coming straight out from like belly button-ish height between your belly button and your sternum. If it starts to drift kind of high, then you're starting to rely on a lot of shoulder. And that's where you see a lot of shoulder and like trap shrugging going on. And then what's doing the work? Is it your shoulders? Is it your core? So I think those are all great examples that we all see, or people in the gym see a lot here.
Right. And to add on to like the Pallof press and just an isometric in general, it's about having that body awareness on what is it that you are trying to work. And it's okay to ask yourself that. If you do not know the answer,
or ask a coach.
Yes.
Exactly. If you don't know the answer to
not here for
to the question,
especially not at 5 a.m.
We're here. Coaches Coaches are here to be able to help you be able to understand what you're trying to work. And once you have that answer, that's when we can start making the adjustments to be able to achieve the goal that we're trying to achieve for you.
Yep.
That leads into what Adam said about working out is just not physical. It's mental as well.
Yeah, you gotta think
so like when you're looking and going through the movements, you go through the exercise and you'll have one of us come up to you like, where'd you feel that? How did that feel? And you're like, oh, I felt it over here. And it's like, well, then you're not doing it right because that's not where you should have felt it.
My favorite response to that is hamstrings, like with like a question mark. It's like
no.
telling me.
No, my favorite is when they just go, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know?
Did you not feel anything happen? So always check with your coach, because it's like, you should be trying to, it's easy to just to show up and like move things around, but you want to be able to like tune in, understand what you're moving, what we're working, so we're not wasting each other's time here. Better body awareness, I would say. So 3 different muscle contractions, concentric, eccentric, isometric, all play a part in building strength, resilience, stability, all the things. So, if you're running into a wall with any given exercise, ask your coach on how we can maybe tune into a different portion of a rep or a lift, so we can try to maybe be, maybe you're really good at the concentric part of a movement, but the eccentric part is really struggling. That's where we can, attack and try to overall improve a movement as a whole. So that's all we got for this week, guys. We will talk to you next week.